Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this evening I am very emotional. And it is not very often that I feel in this particular way. Today, if I can recall, this is the first time I have addressed this august body on the anniversary of a victory. And I cannot help on this occasion, Mr. Speaker, to take my journey through the corridors of time and remember the great struggles of those who were first and foremost in fostering the birth and initial dynamics of the St. Lucia Labour Party, our party of bread, justice, and freedom. And if it was not for the St. Lucia Labour Party, the entire constituency of Labrie-Auger would be in darkness up to now.
Yes, that's true.
Mr. Speaker, as I look into memory's eye, I go back to Clive Compton and saw that he built our health center, the community center, and we can go way back. But at this juncture, Mr. Speaker, I want to engage in a logical digression to first go on the center line of this particular course and then digress again. At this juncture, I wish to give my full support, Mr. Speaker, to the passage of the Youth Economy Bill. The purpose of the Youth Economy Bill is to provide young people with an economic space to turn hobbies into entrepreneurship and skills to business, to establish the Youth Economy Agency for the Youth Economy Program, and to facilitate the development of a youth economy project and provide special incentives. Now, Mr. Speaker, a few moments ago, I said to you, if it was not for the St. Lucia Labour Party, we would have been in trouble in the People's Republic of Labrie. Mr. Speaker, from 1964 to 1974, the United Workers' Party dominated the political landscape of this country and did absolutely nothing for the people of Labrie. In 1974, when Labrie was dismembered from Beaufort and became a separate constituency, the United Workers' Party again dominated. And I would say from 1974 until 1997, because between 1979 and 1982, it was just almost like a temporary diversion on the road from Flabo to Flabo. But even during this time, 1979 to 1982, we delivered bread, justice, and freedom to the people of this country. It was during this time that the workers of this country, Mr. Speaker, knew what it was to go to a bank and get a loan. Prior to that, they did not know anything about going to a bank and taking any loan as a traveling officer, because we gave them significant increases in salaries. Daily paid workers got important increases. The National Commercial Bank of St. Lucia was formed. The St. Lucia Development Bank was formed. And we moved from National Provident Fund to the NIS, Mr. Speaker. In that short space of time, even when we fight, we are more effective than the United Workers' Party. And can you imagine this period of stability and calm and cohesiveness that now exists? And so, Mr. Speaker, during the period 1974 until 1997, they dominated. And when the Star of Freedom rose in this country in 1997, more than 60% of the constituency of Labrie was without basic amenities. It had to take the Labour Party and Honorable Velon Leo John to bring water to areas in Labrie. I recall in 1982, when they wanted to fool the people, no, it was in 1992, when they wanted to fool the people of Basla Guaslaho, they brought electric poles and they brought so many pipes and they said they were going to bring electricity and water. The member for Castries North was on vacation during that time. I know he would not have supported that. And so, Mr. Speaker, during this time, we try to catch up with matters of development. And water and electricity reached in all areas of that constituency. Prior to that, students had to be reading to pass the exams on the candlelight and lamps, Mr. Speaker. No water in the home. They had to go in the darkness, water, rain or shine, to go and get water to take up the house. Bobo was the order of the day, Mr. Speaker. During the period 1997 to 2006, the Labri Jetty was constructed, the Velonjon Administrative Center, the Lacwa Roads, Desbois and Wavinpont, the Laguas Bans Road, and Mr. Speaker, the lands for the youth center to be erected was purchased. In 2006 and 2011, Labri's forward movement was halted from a government standpoint, but we continue to build our constituency. We built the Labri Cooperative Credit Union. We built our Labri Development Foundation. Eco Lab came into existence, and we continue the forward movement. We were an integral part of the early period of NYC with Augustine Dominic and Yudra Shiko as young people in this constituency. But despite the fact it was my very first term in office, Mr. Speaker, and I landed in opposition, I always believe in the principles and philosophy of this St. Lucia Labour Party. Education and healthcare were always supported by me because I believe that they are urgent priorities. It was during this time, Mr. Speaker, that I organized the Joseph Ives Simeon Youth Expose every year to pay homage to this great Viking. We had a youth expose in his honor. I established the Pascal Watson Louis Award of Academic Excellence at the Auger Combined School and to the other schools. And today, all of them compete for that $1,000 for the student, the top common entrance exam before this year, and from this year, the CPEA. Even when certain schools did not have graduation last year, I still gave the top student the $1,000. Not book voucher, but $1,000. And many of the students actually came to me and say, from the time they heard about that $1,000, they wanted to compete for it. Because my whole idea when I established the Award of Excellence was to allow them to compete for it. And Mr. Speaker, over time, we have worked hard together in this constituency to bring about significant development and movement for the youth and for the people of the constituency. We came into office again in 2011 to 2016, building on the foundation that was laid by the Honorable Dr. Velon Leo John and the St. Lucia Labour Party. I was able to, of course, continue the forward movement. Montvert Road, the people were suffering up there. People had to remove their shoes and walk. Today, that's no more. The Obuye Road, which I share with the member for Beaufort South, was built. The Bali Road, the Mission Church Road, two roads near Wilfred and the Joseph family, the Kuman Passad Road, Faucon Way, Edwin the Charlie Road, Black Bay Plainfield Road, Abakampesh Road, Robinson Kodra Road. And we placed lands in Proud to give residents title to those lands, Mr. Speaker. And in Labri Village, we continued along the same line of trying to catch up with matters of infrastructural development. Eucalyptus Avenue, Flamboyant Avenue, Bay Street, Plainfield Road, Lacwa Minor Road, Coolitong, Citrus Grove, Lamar, Montpaul, Olibo, Béwanger, Lao, and the establishment of the Olibo Plainfield. Mr. Speaker, I have said all of that to say to you that the St. Lucia Labour Party, if anything happens to it along the way, progress and development will go under in this country. And so I want to turn right now to the center line of this particular route, Mr. Speaker, which is the youth economy, to illustrate how it fits into the spectrum of development opportunities for the people of my constituency. Mr. Speaker, the youth economy was clearly reflected in this year's budget. The estimates and accentuated in the appropriation bill. Mr. Speaker, the youth economy bill is part of the Philip J. Pierre's administration to restructure the economy by providing an enabling environment to stimulate private sector investment, resulting in an increase in employment, as well as to provide for increasing resources to the youth, poor and vulnerable, for them to participate in the growth and development of themselves and the economy of this country. In addition, it's designed to put government in the digital age and to ensure that government services are more accessible to all of the people of St. Lucia through multiple service delivery platforms. This marks a departure from the approaches of the former UWP government, which provided for a distorted form of development, resulting in widening income inequality and benefiting a select few that was coined the FFF. Mr. Speaker, one of the objectives, or the main objectives of a budget, is to generate increased employment in the country and to provide a higher standard of living for the citizenry. On page 14 of the Prime Minister's budget address, he noted, and I quote, "The youth economy aims at transforming hobbies into entrepreneurship and skills into businesses by providing committed young people with finance, training, mentorship, and marketing support," unquote. It continued, Mr. Speaker, on the same page, and I quote, "In activities such as sports, music, entertainment, the literary art and performing arts, modeling, designing, writing and directing, agriculture, agro-processing, blue economy, and green economy." Mr. Speaker, the youth economy is a major policy initiative that our government has taken to provide increased opportunities for employment of our youth in this new world where emphasis is placed on the digital economy and from the growth in the blue, green, and orange economies. It gives me great joy, Mr. Speaker, to see that the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance allocated in this year's budget $10 million to facilitate the development of the youth economy. One of the major components of the youth economy is for the youth to become entrepreneurs and not rely on the traditional jobs available in the economy. It is noted that significant funds are being made available to provide the youth with the tools, knowledge, and financial support to allow them to become businessmen and women. And of course, for them to take their place beside others in the society to grow the economy of this country and to end this high youth unemployment. And Mr. Speaker, as I talk about youth unemployment, youth unemployment has remained stubbornly high despite significant policy interventions. It is clear, Mr. Speaker, that these policy interventions have failed to have the desired impact on reducing the persistently high levels of youth unemployment. Data from The 2021 Economic and Social Review shows that the youth unemployment rate over the period 2009 to 2021 has varied from a low of 41.6% to a high of 41.8%, with an average over that period of 36.9%. The reference for this data, Mr. Speaker, is page 121 of the 2021 Economic and Social Review. In effect, Mr. Speaker, this effectively means that over 1/3 of our youth are unemployed. 1 in 3 of our youth are unemployed, Mr. Speaker. This is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker, and we need to address this fundamental problem. Of course, the high level of unemployment will be a contributing factor to many of the other social ills, such as crime and drugs, that impact our society. Mr. Speaker, this is a tremendous waste of human capital. Imagine if the unemployed youth were gainfully employed, Mr. Speaker. This would have had a tremendous positive impact on our economy and society in terms of higher levels of GDP, reduced levels of poverty and crime. It would also have a favorable impact on the mental well-being of the youth of being employed. Mr. Speaker, the performance of the economy has been a major factor accounting for the high youth unemployment rate. After recording average real economic growth over the periods 1980 to 1989 and 1990 to 1999 of 6.6% and 3.5% respectively, St. Lucia's economy has been on a trajectory of decelerated economic growth. In the decade 2010 to 2019, and Mr. Speaker, real economic growth averaged a mere 1.3%. I have deliberately not taken into consideration the 2020 period, given the significant impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. It is clear, Mr. Speaker, that the current structure of the economy is not delivering the high levels of economic growth that are required to reduce youth unemployment. We now need to approach the matter of addressing youth unemployment differently. Mr. Speaker, as previous policy interventions have not worked, we cannot continue doing the same thing and expect a different result. The current economic model driving our economy, anchored by tourism and supported principally by the service sector, wholesale and retail, and real estate, with smaller contributions by construction, manufacturing and agriculture, needs to be rewired so that it can deliver on the sustainable development goals. We need to build a resilient, competitive, agile and flexible economy. There are many structural impediments in our economy, Mr. Speaker, which need to be addressed if we are to reduce the high levels of youth unemployment. St. Lucia's economy has been developed on a very narrow economic base, with the economy highly vulnerable to fluctuations in the tourism sector. Mr. Speaker, St. Lucia ranks as among the least diversified economies in the region. There is a clear need, Mr. Speaker, to diversify both within the tourism sector and more broadly into other areas which offer significant growth and employment potential. We need, Mr. Speaker, to find ourselves in the digital space and to embrace the opportunities that it provides. The rise of digital technologies and the digital economy offers a unique opportunity for St. Lucia to accelerate economic growth and job creation, particularly for the youth. It will also contribute to enhancing public service delivery and building resilience. We can, Mr. Speaker, we need to create a more deeply integrated and dynamic digital economy and a digitally driven or empowered citizenry, businesses, and institutions to place us on a new growth path. This will provide us with the opportunity to build a future in which seamless and efficient public services are available at the touch of a screen from even the most remote part of the island, where individuals are equipped with the technology and soft skills to find meaningful employment, particularly the youth, in a knowledge and services-driven regional and global economy, and where businesses and entrepreneurs are pushing the frontiers of innovation, creating new jobs, and accelerating the country's economic growth. Mr. Speaker, in this new world, we can find employment anywhere in the world by working from home. In order to capitalize on the opportunities offered in the digital economy, we need to, as a matter of urgency, build digital skills and creating a stronger local and regional market for them will be critical to tackling the region's unemployment challenges and maintaining competitiveness in the global economy of the future. Our education institutions are not producing enough graduates with the workforce-ready technical and soft skill sets in growing demand from digitally enabled industries. It is also the case, Mr. Speaker, that businesses have been slow to adapt to the digital era. This has prevented those businesses from increasing their productivity and competitiveness and suppressing demand for digital talent, goods, and services in the market. Mr. Speaker, it is important for businesses to be aware of the potential benefits of digital technologies and business models. I wish to point out, Mr. Speaker, that the skills and financial resources to deploy them are also lacking, particularly among small and medium enterprise businesses. Mr. Speaker, the small and medium-sized businesses are collectively the largest employers on the island, and therefore there is a significant potential for creating jobs in the digital sector. Currently, Mr. Speaker, very few businesses accept digital payments or use digital platforms to advertise and sell their goods and services. Fewer still are using such platforms to tap into regional and global market opportunities, adopting digital-centric business models or using data analytics to inform business strategy, integrate customer feedback, and improve efficiency. It is also the case, Mr. Speaker, that the lack of a large base of digitally active consumers reduces the perceived return on such investments. There is a need, therefore, Mr. Speaker, for there to be a simultaneous push on both the supply and demand sides to break out of this vicious cycle. We need to tackle what some have called a digital deficit and promote the development of the digital economy. Mr. Speaker, the creation of the youth economy will go a long way in providing the impetus for the transformation of our economy. Mr. Speaker, I cannot conclude this brief intervention without addressing myself to government's planned strategy of developing the green, blue, and orange economies. As we transition to a decarbonized economy by developing our renewable energy sector through solar, wind, and geothermal energy, there will be new jobs created in these sectors, which will provide opportunities for our youth to be employed. It is important for us to ensure that our youth have the relevant skills and knowledge for the jobs when the renewable energy industries take off. The transition to a green economy will also reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, which account for a significant percentage of our imports and foreign exchange earnings. It is clear that renewable energy prices are competitive and even in some cases lower than the price of fossil fuels. So it is clear that we need to accelerate this transition to renewables, Mr. Speaker, which will create opportunities for the young people as established by the Prime Minister in his budget and the appropriation bill. This will not only help us in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but also provide us with greater energy security and lower energy cost, which will be beneficial to both consumers and businesses. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, we need to focus on optimizing all of the resources to ensure that we can maximize economic growth that is sustainable and does not deplete our natural capital. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, we need to ensure that we maximize the value that we can obtain from our ocean resources, and in this regard, pursue the implementation of a blue economy strategy. In the last sitting of Parliament, we passed a loan resolution for unleashing of the blue economy for the Caribbean project. Our marine resources are significantly greater than our land resources, and it is therefore important, Mr. Speaker, that we optimize the sustainable use of these resources so that we can create significant jobs from our ocean resources for the young people of this country. The unleashing of the Blue Economy for Caribbean project is designed to foster economic recovery and support marine and coastal resilience in the countries participating in this project. Importantly, Mr. Speaker, the project will strengthen the competitiveness and sustainability of two critical interconnected sectors, namely fisheries and tourism, and one underlying enabling infrastructure service, waste management, Mr. Speaker. This project will aim to boost economic recovery by strengthening regional and national policies and institutional frameworks to bring back businesses and attract new investments, which will create new jobs in the economy for the young people of this country. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the project will scale up innovative financing mechanisms aimed at enhancing employment and productivity in the tourism, fisheries, and waste management value chains through establishment of a regional MSME matching grant program and a regional climate risk fisheries insurance scheme. One can clearly see the nexus between the development of the youth economy and the blue economy, Mr. Speaker. Another area that the youth economy is targeted at is the growth of the creative industry sector, as accentuated by the member for Vieux North, and more broadly the orange economy. The creative industry sector is a growing segment of our economy, which has provided significant benefits to our youth. We need to build on that platform that has already been laid and provide greater support to the artists in the creative industries, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, implementation arrangements are critical to ensuring that we can successfully deliver on the desirable outcomes for the youth economy. I am pleased to note that agency charged with the responsibility of driving the youth economy will be a statutory authority and therefore will have greater flexibility in how it operates. This statutory authority has, based on the bill, 4 main areas of focus. These are 1, training; 2, marketing; 3, finance, loans and grants; and mentorship. I sincerely believe that the development of the youth economy is, as the Prime Minister stated in his budget address, the first step in transforming the St. Lucia economy, driven by technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, where young people, regardless of their socioeconomic status, can become active participants in wealth creation and nation building, unquote. Mr. Speaker, I cannot conclude this extremely brief intervention without alluding to the challenge of managing the transition from the last administration to the current. Managing transitions from one administration to another is never easy. And in this particular case, it was a nightmare given the legacy bequeathed to us by the former government, in which the country was on the verge of being a failed state and in high risk of debt default. The government of the St. Lucia Labour Party, however, has had an excellent driver at the steering wheel, an excellent economist who has been managing this economic crisis with aplomb. Mr. Speaker, I refer to no other than the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development and Youth Economy, the member for Castries East, the Honorable Philip Joseph Pierre, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I close, we are by no means out of the woods, as the fiscal situation that we inherited was extremely gloomy, but our Minister for Finance has stabilized the situation, and the recently passed budget has laid the foundation for the recovery in the short term and provide the springboard for sustained economic growth and development. As a result, St. Lucia will achieve the level of macroeconomic stability as well as the fiscal space needed to create opportunities for real increases in expenditure on social services, reduce the cost and risk for all investors, and therefore lay the foundation for increased investment and growth. Mr. Speaker, so today I join the patriotic members of this Honorable House in commending the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance in presenting for members' consideration the Youth Economy Bill, which intends to return people to the center of public policy and expand opportunities for the youth of our country. Long live Honorable Philip Joseph Pierre, long live the St. Lucia Labour Party, and long live St. Lucians, Mr. Speaker. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.